Bismillah Rahman Rahim. May peace be upon those who follow the guidance. Welcome to Askia Educational Network. I'm your host, Askia Abdulaziz Muhammad Toure Al-Muslimun. My objective is not to be sarcastic towards any person, any group, or any entity, but my objective is to be in compliance to the rules of fairness and equity. If I say anything that is good, it is from Allah. And if I say anything that is incorrect, it is either from myself or it's from Shaitan. Today's topic is anti-Semitic. This term anti-Semitic is usually used by the European Jews. And this term became popular in 1879 by a German nationalist. His name was Wilhelm Marr. Wilhelm Marr was a German nationalist, and he did not like the European Jews. He believed that the European Jews in Germany that they were in control of the financial institutions and the industrial institutions. So during that time in the late 1800s, there was a move to assimilate the Jews into German culture. So the school of thought is that once you imitate a people, you will become them. This example can be seen in America with the American Negro, as they were called. Once you imitate a people, you become them. So if you look at the African American, for instance, if the American white man, if he smoked a cigarette, then you would see the American Negro, he would smoke a cigarette. If the American white man, if he drank alcohol, you would see the so-called American Negro, he would drink alcohol. If the American white man is to wear a Santa Claus suit during Christmas time, you would see the American Negro, he would imitate and he will wear a Santa Claus hat. So the school of thought is that once you assimilate, once you imitate a people, you become them. This has nothing to do with people of African descent, but once you imitate a people, you become them. So the American white man, he changed the names of the African American, he changed their religion from Islam to Christianity, or in some cases from Judaism to Christianity, and then of course in Africa they had animist type beliefs, but everything was changed, their names, their religion, their language, their culture. So this school of thought was going on in Germany, and they wanted the European Jews to assimilate into German culture, but Wilhelm Marr, he did not like that, and he felt that once the Jews assimilate, they would take over Germany. So he started an organization in 1879 called the Anti-Semitic League. And the Anti-Semitic League was an organization that either wanted the European Jews to leave Germany completely, or he wanted to exterminate them. So this is coming from Wilhelm Marr, and this is the reason why today, if you say anything negative, this is the reason why the European Jew is so sensitive, because they know what happened after this in regards to Germany and Hitler and the Nazis, in which it is said that the German people exterminated 6 million European Jews. So this is the reason why they're very sensitive. But what the problem is with this term anti-Semitic, they don't use this term when other Semitic people is being slandered. They don't use this term when other people is being discriminated against. They only use this term when it applies to them. So this video is being made October the 31st, 2022. And last week, as you know, there was some controversy with this rapper named Kanye West, formerly known as Kanye West. He has changed his name to Ye, and he is supposed to have said some anti-Semitic comments, and because he did that, there was some action taken towards him by the Jewish community. But if somebody was to say something negative about the Quran, this Quran is an Arabic book. This is Arabic. It's in the Arabic language. This is the Quran, and this is a Semitic language. So if you have someone in America that says that we're going to have a day where we're going to burn the Quran, you don't hear the media calling that person anti-Semitic. There's a double standard there. So this story of the Semitic people, it comes from the Bible. This is the Bible, and it comes in the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 10, where you had this prophet named Noah, and Noah had 3 sons. And his first son was Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now, Shem is where we get the word Semite from. And then Ham is supposed to be representative of the African people and the people in Asia. And Japheth is supposed to be a representative of the European people, the Anglo-Saxon Aryan people. So when you say the European Jew, technically the European Jew is not a Semite, he would be Japheth. But because they converted to the Jewish religion, which is known as Judaism, and they learned a lot of Hebrew, then they classify themselves as being Semitic. So a Semitic person is not a race of people. A Semitic people are people who either they speak Hebrew, they speak Arabic, they speak Aramaic, or they speak Ge'ez. Ge'ez is the language of the Ethiopian Jews in Ethiopia. And they were called Falashas because the European Jew was not aware of them, so they call them Falashas. But the Ethiopian Jews always refer to themselves as being Bani Israel because they go way back. They were in Jerusalem during the first Babylonian captivity, and they were forced out. There was 2 Babylonian captivities, and these Ethiopian Jews, Abyssinians, they were forced out and they went to Egypt. And because they believed in pure monotheism, because they believed in one God, in Egypt they were persecuted. So they went down the Nile River, and they went all the way down the Nile River, and they settled at a place called Lake Tana. That's in Ethiopia, and that's where they developed their community. So if you went to Ethiopia, there were no places that were called synagogues. They places of worship was called masjid, the same term that we Muslims use when we go to our place of worship. It is called masjid in Arabic, and the Ethiopian Jews, they refer to their place as being masjid. The word masjid means a place of prostration. Now up north from Ethiopia, as you go up north into Jerusalem, many years later the Greeks, they colonized Jerusalem, and the Romans colonized Jerusalem. So the people that was in Jerusalem, in that part of the world, they became Hellenized. They became assimilated into the Greek culture, and they took on some of the Greek language. So you end up having a term, their place of worship was called synagogue. Now synagogue is not a Semitic word. Hebrew, you can't say the word synagogue in Hebrew, you can't say that in Arabic, you can't say it in Aramaic, and you can't say that in Ge'ez, which is the language of which is the language of the European Christians and the European Jews along with Hebrew. So the European Jews, they don't use this term anti-Semitic when these people the Arabs, the Aramaic, and the Ethiopians when they're being persecuted. So again, this book, the Bible, has caused a lot of problems. And I'm not trying to take anything away from this book because this book has a lot of good in it. But at the same time, the Bible has caused a lot of problems because people have interpreted these terms in racial terms. So if you read Genesis chapter 9, verse 20 to 27, it says that Noah, he cursed Canaan. Canaan was the son of Ham, and Ham was supposed to be the progenitor of the African people, the black race. So the Bible says in chapter 9, verse 20 to 27 of the book of Genesis that Canaan would be a slave to Shem and Japheth. In the Quran, in this book, the Muslim Quran, in this book, the Quran, you also have the story of Noah. But when you read the story of Noah, it doesn't mention Ham, Shem, and Japheth. So there's nowhere in the Quran where you can interpret that story in racial terms, like you can in this book called the Bible. So this book has caused a lot of problems. It has caused people to be anti-Semitic. It has caused people to make God out of a white man. In Islam, God has no gender. He has no nationality. The creator of heaven and earth in Islam is transcendent above that. But the Christians, the European Jews, you have this this form of discrimination. You have this coming from the Bible. These people interpreted Ham as being inferior to the white race, so they discriminated against people of color. They also discriminated against the Jews and the Catholics, the Ku Klux Klan. So you have problems. So with the European Jew, they were discriminated in Europe. They were forced to live in ghettos. They went through hardship, similar to what the African American went through. But the problem that the African American had, once they went through the process of Emancipation Proclamation, what followed that was the Jim Crow laws. So there was no upward mobility for the African Americans, but then there was upward mobility for the European Jew when there was the emancipation for them in the European nations. And that's sort of how they got involved in finance and industry. That's a different story I can talk about, can't talk about in this session, how they became money lenders. The term money lenders now we refer to it as bankers, but they were not called bankers back then. But they did get primarily in control of the banking industry. That is a different topic. So this term anti-Semitic, it is used by the Zionists for the most part. If you say anything negative about the Jews, they label you as being anti-Semitic. But this term should be applied to the black people. It should be applied to Arabs, the Palestinians, various people who speak a Semitic language. When they're being discriminated against, you also should say anti-Semitic to the people who saying slandering and negative things towards those people, just like somebody would say something that would be offensive against the European Jews. So this term anti-Semitic cannot be limited to only the European people. It has to be used for all people that is of the Semitic language. So if I said anything that was good, it is from Allah. And if I say anything that was incorrect, it is either from myself or it's from Shaitan. So until next time, Assalamu alaikum.